Next up, if you were here last year, you might remember there was a little bit of back-end humor on this stage first thing in the morning. We were talking about as a service, so it was ass all day long. The next gentleman to present was the one who did that. His name is Eliad Saporta. He's managing director of Coriunder, and he's also here to present with a partner of theirs, Kunze from Scanovate. Gentlemen, the floor is yours.
Thank you. So I promise this time I won't be mentioning my ass. So we're Coriunder. We're here to help PSPs or companies launch faster. We started, everybody on the team used to be on the operator side, working for PSP, some C-level, some developers on it. And we decided to make a switch, no longer be on the operator side, but providing services to operators globally and helping them manage the relationships that they have with their merchants and their other partners. So we're a strong believer in relationships, but relationships needs to be managed, and how we do that. We manage all different types of accounts by the system, not just merchants and the internal PSP part, but the relationship between a user and a merchant and his affiliates, user and affiliates in the issuing side, PSP obviously internally with the employees of the company, and the relationships with acquirers or third-party providers. So presentation today is from rings to pyramids because first of all, the approach within the system is a layered system. We have the onboarding part, the monitoring, the finance, but then it splits apart to the different types of accounts and how we take care of each and every one of those accounts with their specific needs and requirements. So as we mentioned, the main rings that we're going to cover, the onboarding part, the monitoring, the finance, and most importantly, the circle of VAS, which is the value-added service that we provide to each and every one of those accounts. So a little bit about onboarding. It's no secret we have to manage the KYC, KYB, even when it starts from just a lead and a merchant, when they sign up on your website, the application that the affiliates might be collecting and passing on to you, and then proceeding to the process of the integration, pre-approval by the acquirers, and so on and so forth. We manage all of that within the ring of onboarding, within the system, and allowing them, the PSPs, to manage the process of the merchant within the system. So no longer the need to manage CRM just to manage the sales cycle, and then taking from that CRM into the gateway, and then managing it forward and passing it on. So moving to the monitoring part, getting them onboarded, it's a hard part, we all know that, but then later on, keeping the monitoring of the transaction, managing fraud, rolling reserves, the refund request, everything that comes up on the day-to-day activity, all is managed in one CRM system, which is the gateway. And then they'll be able to even analyze and manage their KPIs internally because we make it accessible. All the hosted page abandonment if there are issues in the card process. API requests to our e-commerce APIs, to the card that we provide, and so on and so forth. The finance part, it's no longer just important to just pass transaction to the relevant acquirer. Smart routing or transaction between the different acquirers, those are nice features, which obviously we have, but it's more important to manage the profit of the business. What are the buy rates, the sell rates, the split to the affiliate we work with? If account managers work on commission, we need to know that within the system. Everything is accessible and everything is feasible. You can actually apply a fee on every interaction that the system manages. So we got to the main part, the circle of VAS. The value-added service that we provide are the additional services the PSP can build on top of and actually offer additional services to their merchants. Over 150 API calls, third-party modules and partners that we work with, such as Scanovate that's going to present here, or even the potential to working with companies like Riskified and embedding their solution in our system. The client-facing email or interactions from the system, there's no point for the merchant to copy-paste data from the system to Outlook and then sending the email to the merchant. Predefined templates that are automatically sent when you reach a certain stage in the process help the sales managers and the account managers to actually communicate with their merchants and share the information they need, and a lot more. So now, breaking it apart to the different needs in each one of the types of accounts within the system, because as much as it's a general onboarding process, it's not one size fits all, and every type of account has their own needs and their own requirements, as my colleagues, both Marav, Richard mentioned before. So I'm not going to go over everything word by word, but when we look at the merchant part, it's very important, as we mentioned, in the KYB process and the external checks. So this is where we reach to the Scanovate team as part of their flow. We have portal access, a merchant control panel designed specifically for the merchant needs from the day they start, seeing the integration process, monitoring their transaction, and even providing sub-access to their limited users, not getting full access for everything, but just their niche activity. We also manage the sell rates, obviously, email templates, and even e-commerce capabilities of building landing pages, e-commerce shop, etc. Some of the value-added service are 3 templates for the payment page, which they can customize and they can adjust according to the design of their website, landing pages and product pages, and the merchant control panel, and over 67 API calls just on the marketplace and e-commerce functionality alone. Talking about the customer, here it's a different approach. Not just the customer in the means of a card holder. We're talking about wallets, we're talking about issuing prepaid cards by MasterCard, UnionPay, or Visa, all managed within the system. We don't just cater for the relationship of a PSP and an acquirer, we cater for the relationship of a PSP and the issuers that they work with. This gives them the ability to sign up a customer to the system. Everything is protected under GDPR with all the API and services they need to facilitate the access to that data, both on the customer side and to their own needs in the system. Some of the value-added service, peer-to-peer payments and APIs to build applications that are connected to the prepaid cards. GDPR is a service that allows them to build the front ends connected to our back end. And social features such as friend request, master account, and sub-accounts, and a lot more. Again, 60 API calls just on the user management alone to provide additional functionality. Affiliates. We are strong believers in affiliates. It's very important to work with them. They bring you business, both merchants and customers. So we build an interface just for the affiliate to track their activity and see how much rev share they're entitled. The system manages, as we said, the buy rates you have with the bank, even if needed, a buy rate for the affiliate, and then the sell rates for the merchant or the customers they brought in. Some don't just require just working and passing the merchants to you. We provide a light label solution under a PSP, meaning they get a branded solution just for the affiliate side working under a PSP. So a white label of one of our white labels. Some of the value-added service, we provide them the management tool to see the program splits. One affiliate can manage a program of multiple sub-programs of issuing. They have their own portal, and they can see the splits and the rev share they're entitled to at the end of the month. The acquirers, we manage all the reply codes, the smart routing, cascading internally, depending on a certain set of rules. You set the limits that the acquirer provide, and then you apply additional limits on the merchant level that gives them the ability to actually control what you pass on to the acquirer. You have the approval ratio internally in the system and the approval ratio with the acquirers. It protects you from your exposure against the acquirers if there are transactions you could have declined internally, setting those rules within the system. Some of the value-added services, both settlement distribution, most of our clients are either EMI licensed or payment facilitators. So the model means that each one of the banks settle to them. They distribute the fund automatically from the system, deducting the fees, rolling reserve, and any other splits. Transaction routing, as you all know, according to a certain set of limits like currency, amount, territory, and others. And of course, the reconciliation internally in the system between the different providers, making sure that all transactions are on track. Before last, we have the issuers. A new feature that we added, we control multiple issuers at the same time with one single unified API. Meaning you're building the front end on top of our back end, and it gives you the ability to always call one API, which we convert to the different issuers. What does it give you? Control over the experience of the customer, no longer a different experience to different issuers, once a unified solution for all of them, and all the KYC is done internally in the system before we pass it to them, so that we always pass to the issuer a full package that they need in order to issue the cards. Some of the functionality, value-added service, you work currently with 5 processors, over 35 API calls. It gives you the ability to build the front ends, and a feature called open and close list. We give the programs the ability to either decide pre-advance on a certain set of users that can sign up for a card, or they can allow everybody to sign up, and then it's a different process internally. For the PSPs, it's the basics, giving them permission-based access for their employees in the company, giving them messages of alarm and informing their customer, their users, what is going on this week, what is a special deal they need to offer and such, a notification about threshold being passed for the risk department, the finance departments, and more, and CRM capabilities internally to manage their emails, notes, or any other interaction with their clients. So one backend to rule them all, not just as a gateway, but actually as a management system to replace all others that they work with. So we help PSPs to provide services to merchants and customers, the tools to manage affiliates, issuers, and acquirers. Now, to do that, we work with partners such as Scanovate, and I would like to invite Chris to actually talk about the solution and how we work together.
Thank you, Eliad, and thank you, Dana, for joining in today, and good morning to you. My name is Chris, and I'm a sales director here in Scanovate. Scanovate creates cyber identity for management solutions as an on-premise end-to-end platform, delivering a frictionless client onboarding on the front end while providing a management tool for all your KYC and compliant needs at the back end. And we all know that the challenges of 2019 become stronger, especially with all the growth that we have. And a good KYC platform in our days needs to work in real time. It must be dynamic and flexible, optimize all our solutions and monitor all our transactions. For sure, within seconds and to a very, very low price. And we don't talk about here also about the conflicts and regulations, as we know. One of the solutions is the cooperation with Coriunder, where it brings our results as a service into their backend. All the clients of Coriunder can easily access via our interface or to this extremely good backend solution. And what you will find there is a special designed service to identify and to verify all your clients in a holistic solution that gather all the data vendors into one place. You can optimize, you can streamline, you can orchestrate all your transactions on real time, and this in an easy drag and drop solution to build for each and every use case you have your own workflow. And this makes compliance and KYC very, very sexy. And we don't talk about only about the AML, PAP, sanction, OFAC checks that we do. We're also talking about multi-factor authentications as address verification, name verification, email to phone, phone to IP, or whatever you can imagine and what you want to know from your client to protect their own business. Let's quickly talk, we don't have too much time, let's quickly talk about the one or maybe two use cases we are already providing. The first thing is that a classical situation that the billing address and the shipping address don't match. Normally raise a flag, it comes to a manually process, the order got stopped, that we start to investigate into the person, into the addresses. We sometimes call the credit card providers just to understand how high is our risk in this kind of order. With our solutions we provide together, we can do this background check within seconds while the order process is running, which gives you the opportunity to get the results into seconds, to reject or to pass through the order. And you don't need to pray just by avoiding a bad customer experience and just accept anything what is being ordered on your website. Or a second use case is what we talked about, the takeover of accounts. Mainly it's a traditional situation of banks or financial service companies to protect the full journey from the beginning until the end. And most of the e-commerce merchants were just protecting transaction on the spot when it happens and don't pay attention to protect the account information. Here, also, one part of our solution is to provide a frictionless onboarding with the client with a very deep background check in the beginning of the ordering process, while authorize the transaction due to our biometric tools we offer, which is a face match, fingerprints, etc., which makes a much different approach to protect your orders. That was from my side. Thanks for the attention, and my time is up now, but I hope that we have a couple of conversations later on the conference.
Thank you, Chris. Thank you, Eliad.